All right, good afternoon, everybody. Another 12 frames per second coming at you for Toonkind. My name is Kraken. I will be playing Craigory and Henrick Danthew, and it is just me. I'm the only person sitting here. Solo FPS. I don't know if we call this a 6 frames per second or a 24 frames, but either way, I've done it. Let's go. Which means we open with, dearly beloved wizard Craigory Danthew, who is just coming down the street, walking back home. I don't know what he's coming back from. It's been a day. The kind of important point here is that people are off doing their own stuff. Pip's running around. He isn't sure where. He just knows not to expect them back for a while. Boomer's doing her own stuff, he thinks. I don't know. Boomer's been up to stuff lately. He doesn't know fully what, but it's nice that she's getting more friends. Point is, as Craigory comes up to his front door, I'm going to roll this boy a perception. 9. Great. Cool. Welcome home, buddy. He unlocks the door, opens up, comes in, and he's just heading. His goal is just head towards the lab space he has set up in, his own apartment here in Toontown, and get to work on just putting together some notes, research notes for food, basically, putting coherent words to things. With a 9 in perception, I think it's got to be just enough to give him a pause. Something seems off. He can't put his finger on it, but something feels off. Which means he is going to keep a better eye out as he goes further in through the living room and just the hallway, which has all the, other rooms branching off. And just for the heck of it. Cool. Yeah. Nat 20 perception. There we go. The door to his lab's open. He didn't leave it that way. He doesn't leave it that way. So this is great. This is fine. Completely fine for wizard. And tabbing over. Oh, huh. Yeah, that makes sense. Like wizard, like sun. Both shitty perceptions. And a voice comes from within the lab. Come on in, don't be shy. Which, is just a great thing to hear when the house is supposed to be empty, and yeah, great. Craigory recognizes this voice. Arcane focus out. Just ready to tumble, he guesses. Look, I don't know how you got it. I'm gonna... people call the cops over this kind of thing, Yes, but also no, you won't. And Craigory pokes the door open further with his staff and takes a peek inside. This lab space, it isn't the biggest. It doesn't, it's not sort of the ideal lab space he had back in the woods, which is basically created specifically to be a working space. It was all set up, lots of air ventilation. This is more just kind of a smallish room that Craigory co-opted for his own tinkering space. Kind of like how Boomer sort of has one setup as well, but in reality, Boomer's tinkering space is just wherever she decides to sit down. It's everywhere. It's fine. The point is, Craigory's not super used to having like 3 people in here at once. Because in here, there's now kind of himself in the doorway, Henrick Danthew standing over his desk and just hasn't even looked up, is just clearly rifling through papers that are on there and reading them, perusing, if you will, casual as you please. And there's the picture. There is also a third body here. It kind of looks like this. It's something. It's one of those clone bodies that, you know, he and Pip encountered at where Henrick's set themselves up. But it's funky looking, and it unnervingly turns to look at Craigory and gives a little wave. And for lack of a better thing to do, Craigory kind of waves back. You know, you really didn't mention this Jello business last we talked. You know, it's certainly something. I don't see why you wouldn't. This is... well, there's a few things I could call it. How'd you get it so big? That's not... I'm not answering that. I'm not... What are you doing here? Sighs and puts the papers down. I didn't think the last time we met went very well. Might have been just me, but things seemed a bit hostile. What with your little mouse friend and such. It occurred to me, admittedly after the fact, that taking you somewhere strange might have been alarming. So, let's talk. In your space. How's that? Does that make you happy? Actually, no. It makes me a whole bunch of other things because I definitely did not tell you my address. Well, you should have hidden it better, shouldn't you? Bleh, bleh. You didn't want people to know where you live. You should have taken other measures. You know, I wasn't kidding about calling, like, cops. And like I said, no, you aren't. You would have already. The thing is, you don't want anyone to know I exist, and convenient for me. If I didn't know any better, I'd think you were embarrassed of me. Furthermore, you want to ask me questions you would never ask if others were here. If that mouse was here, you held back. And luckily for you, there's also questions I would never answer if they were here. But, look at that. No one's here. This is my favor to you. Let's talk. And they've taken a seat in the one chair in the room and just, you know, magnanimously waved a hand to Craigory. The floor is his. There's a lot of things Craigory could ask, and, you know, it kind of stings, but they're right. There's things they didn't touch upon when Pip was there, just because it's private, especially, you know, the whole deal with the clone business. So, yeah, he's just going to have to go for that first. Staff still out, arms crossed, but now leaning against the door frame. Why clones? Why clones? Why make clones? Why make me? And also, how? Well, the how is actually quite easy. It's a matter of, let's say, resource, not magical difficulty. I mean, I've told you how Danthews have come about, haven't I? I think that's important family history. That particular bit of fabric roll that we all come from, you know, the parents cut out the shape to combine their magics and you, boom, have created a new Toon life form. It's, in my travels, I found actually similar to how many, if not most, Muppet-born come about. The point is, Craigory, there are no accidental children in our family. We are crafted with intent. And my intent with you was singular. And therefore, with no other influences in, you are just another me. So, frankly, it's simpler than anyone thought it would be. So, in the end, it's actually not that dissimilar to what you've done with your hand. And Henrick? What? Henrick? Jesus Christ. That's not a blunder I anticipated having. Henrick gestures at Craigory's hand and then does a visible double take. Because, hey, that's different. That's different from how it was during, like, Wizard Like Sun. What have you done there? And Craigory just kind of looks down at the hand, takes it up, flexes the fingers. It's still kind of in the first stages of Azur's construction, so it's still a little blocky, clumsy. But the point is, it's not a cloth glove anymore, it's a hard light hand, and currently the color is set to blue. And Craigory just kind of shrugs and goes, oh, this? Yeah, upgrade. Whatever. Right. I'm gonna have, well, I'm thinking about Craigory roll and insight. Wahoo. Nice. 17 insight. So, real talk, big reason why Craigory went through with actually changing how he deals with the fact that his right hand got chewed up by ink remover a while ago. The reason why he changed that was because Henrick pulled a trick he really didn't like in, like, Wizard Like Sun. So it was time to change how he did that. Henrick looks, what's a word? Disgruntled. That might be a little mild, but it's there. There's, like, leant forward slightly, eyebrows furrowed. Seems disturbed, almost frustrated. There's, you know, with a 17, you think Craigory can parse it. This is literally just me being like, how do I put into words? Craigory ultimately gets the feeling that Henrick is put off by the fact that it's just different. It's different. He's different. Getting more different, it seems, every time Henrick cares to look at him. Which, good, frankly. Craigory would like to be as different as possible with recent revelations. Okay, so that's how, kinda. The, can't help but notice you missed the first bit, which is the, why are you like this? And Henrick leans back and smooths over expression again. Just goes, Craigory, a person's time on story is short, ultimately. There's a lot I would like to do, a lot I would like to see, not nearly enough time to do it all. Many hands make light work. You can do a lot at once. And that is more the purpose behind clones like this. Gestures at the kind of messed up looking Henrick, still standing by the bookcase, and pauses and goes, well, okay, not exactly like that. This is the first one. First attempt. Say hello to Fabric Run. Fabric Run waves again. Craigory waves back. The point is, clones allow me to continue my work beyond my capacity and also beyond my ability in time. You specifically are essentially a copy, another version of my mind, my thought process, my ability. There's no unceremonious ends to legacy here. It's a little, well, no, let's not be humble here. It's a type of immortality. Versions perpetuating on. This is maybe not the answer Craigory was wholly expecting. To be fair, he didn't know what he was expecting. Quite frankly, he's been trying not to think too deeply on this, just because it's been a lot. Okay, so I guess that makes kind of sense. Like I see the logic. So you didn't have any of these when I was little. Like there was just us. I'm pretty sure it was just us. So I'm first. And Henrick nods. First. And the only one like you. For now. So, like, what? I mean, suspect this for a while, kind of, but you were, like, raising me to be your, like, successor to take over, like, and then you stopped. Why did you stop? Plans change, time marches on. You know, what seems like a good idea will work out when you're 22. Things can change in, you know, the years you started out as a child. You're not like these. Gestures again at Fabric Run, Henrick. They're a copy of the instant. They come out like me, you know, the age of me or whatever clone it is they're being based upon. You started from ground zero. That's a lot of growing up to do. That's a lot of time. So, I came across new information later, and I decided I needed a new direction. I learned I could find that direction in Furuma, and that sort of journey, no place for a child. Well, that's a 5 insight from Craigory. And, you know what, just for the heck of it, what is Henrick's deception? Oh yeah, +8. So unless they utterly beef it, I mean, a 12 is not great. A 12 is not great with that kind of modifier, but it still beats out a fucking 5. So Craigory, squinting suspiciously, just because that does not sound quite, it doesn't feel like a complete justification or even a good one. And just like, you gave up. Like, you had this whole big plan, and then 12 years later, you just suddenly gave up. Suddenly. So, like, also, you didn't care what was and wasn't fit for a child before. Like, that was not a factor. Like, no. I fully believe that you would have just been like, yeah, we're going to another continent, and you would have taken it. Something changed. I don't know what changed? Does it truly matter? It's 10 years ago. Things happen. And let's do the roll for 8 perception. Henrick's body language has been like very relaxed this whole time, basically just like, doing the obnoxious thing where they sprawl and they take up all this space. Sitting in Craigory's chair, has been like perusing through his stuff in here, just making themselves entirely at home. But it's now that they kind of sit up in place a little and turn to face the window. And you know what they do? They actually get up and they peek through. Just go. With that perception roll, it doesn't seem like they found what they were looking for, what they thought they saw. But either way, they shutter it when they lean away. And yeah, that kind of leads into another thing. Like, are you on the run? Is that it? Are you wanted? Did you piss someone off? Is that why you're suddenly here? No, that's not it. There's no one after me like that. And Craigory will just snort and go like, okay, that surprises me considering how you've been rude to absolutely everyone I know you've met. What can I say? I'm not that great at people. There's benefits to just working with yourself. So, that sounds like your question. It's back around to my turn. This Jello taps finger on the notes on the desk. Tell me about that. And I mean, Craigory's not inclined to go into detail about like any fucking thing with this person. But also Henrick's been clearly just like reading through notes and let's do more rolls. He's going to do investigation. What's the desk like? How long have they been here? How much they read? Nat 20. All right. Craigory can see that like he'd left his desk, semi-organized. Stuff had been put away. What's out there now? Henrick has clearly just been going through the drawers, just as you please, opening things up, taking them out, reading them. They've been going through the place. And the more Craigory looks with that investigation, the more he can see just like, Henrick's been here a while. Every fucking thing in here has been examined. So, you know what? This seems almost like a redundant question, so, fuck it, right? I mean, it looks like you've read a lot of what I know, because it's in there, gestures at the desk. But, I mean, still don't think there's that much to tell. I just missed Auntie's food and how she'd make it, so I tried to get fancy, and it got out of control. Not much to tell. And like you're saying, it's all in the notes. And, I mean, based on it looks like you're building a paper. You and this, what is it, Lardy person? It's not your business. So stingy. Yeah, I am, because I've already said it. You've been incredibly rude to my family so far. I don't think you'd be any better around my friends. Leave them alone. Craigory, I don't intend to bother anyone. I am keeping my head down. The less people know I am here, the better. If Jenny knows I'm here, I'm done for. She would put me in the ground. Speaking of your aunt, though, this whole thing, it does remind me of an incident she had. Her and her friend, they ended up creating some half-baked batter with similar properties when we were young. It's had like, movement, a sort of baseline animal intelligence. It created quite a mess, I tell you that. And Craigory did not know this. He did not know this about his aunt. As far as Craigory knew, Jenny's just been like being in the kitchen and making delicious food that has like magical effects and accents on them as long as she's been alive, and they've all turned out delicious. What happened to it? Oh, it exploded. And I've been thinking on it. You know, these notes you've got here actually, I think, clarify what happened back then, because it looks like you pumped one spell into this gelosity. Meanwhile, Jenny and Wynn just pumped all their little baby spell slots into it, no care for how anything integrated, and just did that. So between that and the fact it was from two sources, thinking that's why the cake batter was so unstable. Versus yours, which actually stabilized. Which in itself is interesting. But, you know, might not be too much of a surprise. Frankly, I think this sort of thing runs in the family. Things turning out, shall we say, half-baked the first time. Waves a hand again at Fabric Run Henrick, who, similar to the clones at camp when Pip and Craigory went there, the clones at the camp, it seemed, had all the tasks and they were doing them and paid no attention to what else was going on until Pip had fired an arrow. It doesn't seem like Fabric Run has a job, or if there's a job, it isn't kicked in. Fabric Run is just standing there. Permanent, goofy smile on their face. So what you're saying is, I should be glad I turned out as well as I did. Well, I only had one shot with you. It had to be perfect. Jenny didn't give me any extra fabric, only enough for one kid. Which, you know, great sentences overall coming out of this wizard's mouth. My turn. What were you doing in Furuma? What was so important you had to pack up immediately and leave me behind? Simple enough. Figuring out how to make, I call them flash clones. They're far quicker to make. Don't need any particular fabric. Any old thing will do. That's why I was saying your glove looks similar. I feel like it would have come out different if you'd used family fabric. The point is, there's some pros and some cons, and to figure out how to make clones like this, I found the answers to that in Furuma. I mean, I mentioned Muppetborn already, didn't I? The similarities? Muppetborn are usually purposeful creations as well. The only accident about them was their predecessors gaining sentience in the first place. They were constructed to be puppets, you know. And then just, boom, life, animation. But first, puppets. Constructs, almost. So, if I wanted clones that were easier to make, but didn't have the, shall we say, mind you and I have, go back to those origins, reverse engineer, figure out how to keep my versions that way. Extra hands, extra materials, no thought. Let's do a new roll. What would this be? Just me thinking loud to myself, because like, Craigory's not used to asking direct questions, least of all from this person. Let's just say when Craigory was a kid, asking Henrick Danthew direct questions was 9 times out of 10 met with, well, you can figure that out yourself, can't you? Whether that's by a book or going out to the woods and poking things until stuff happens, you know. Henrick Danthew, big proponent of the fuck around and find out methodology. So even just the fact that this is happening is already off kilter. Oh, I got off track. Why? See, another trouble with only being me here is I can't ask the other person, where was I going with this? Henrick said supplies, that's the bitch. Oh, hi, Morsky. Yeah, you know what? Let's go a wisdom-based skill, because something about that sentence twigged something for Craigory. Let's see if he connects. Well, just. What? Okay, the extra hands part, I understand. I saw it. What do you mean by supplies? And Henrick just has been sitting back down again and just sort of lifts up the cane that's resting by the desk in a sort of, you know, quote-unquote self-explanatory manner. Well, you were doing the same with your hand for however long you had that glove. Something gets broke, you patch it up however you can, and in both our cases, we came up with the same solution. I mean, you saw the side. There's also the knee. And the other thing with that roll is a dot that connected was something, seeing the sort of patchwork, the multiple patches that are going on holding sort of Henrick's torso together at one part. That twigged something for Craigory last time. He connects it now. Oof. Visually, it's kind of reminiscent of the sort of patchwork doll constructs that a certain belladonna made in the Unsteady and Love games. Which, you know, great. But, yes, they serve their purposes, but you, Craigory, were made to be my equal in every sense. Another me. But then not myself. Same difference. No, it's not. No, at this point, I suppose not. Don't mind me just looking at my outline. Who asked the last big question? That was Craigory. Why are you in Furuma? Henrick then sits back, circling the discussion back around for a moment. My sister. She still has the family fabric roll, doesn't she? Shouldn't pass it along to you. There's no surprise extra family I don't know about. And think honestly Craigory stays silent. Henrick just goes, so that's a yes. All right. Well, it's good to know. I guess I'll need to just do something about that. Not asking you to help me get another swatch of the stuff, but if you felt inclined to help, I also would accept it. Well, okay, to be clear, are you talking about robbing Genelope? First of all, are you insane? No, actually, I don't think I am. I ask because have you ever thought about asking? Well, I asked the first time and she was not well pleased with the results of that. She would not be happy to see me. It's better for everything if she just never knew I was here. Cheers for not telling her, by the way. I figured you wouldn't. I wouldn't have, so. Still, thanks. You know that does make me just want to tell her. You realize that? I could just go over and go, hey, by the way, fucking Dama's back. You ready for, I guess, a manhunt by your thing? Why shouldn't I tell her? And Henrick levels a look at Craigory and goes, if you tell her, I will have to leave immediately, and you're allowed to ask me a lot of questions right now, but there is one answer you wouldn't get. There's some final things I need to do here. I'm in the middle of them, but one involves going back home. And come on, brain, think of things. I think Craigory can just go ahead and parse that home in this case does not mean, you know, home in Toontown or home at Genelope's or home in Faruma. For all Henrick's talked about it, they haven't seemed particularly attached. Home in this case likely means, you know, wizard hut out in the woods. And Craigory just kind of goes, yeah, bad news on that. That place is gone. Got destroyed. Gelosity, you know, what would you call that? Ground zero. It's all gone. Well, it's not the house that was important. I already took everything important out of there. It's the location. Once again, going to extend the invitation. I would appreciate you coming with me. It would make a few things easier if you came along. And Craigory just kind of squints at them. And you're not gonna elaborate on that, are you? What happened to your curiosity? What happened to the child that would not stop asking me questions? Where's all that gone? You... gone, I guess. You discouraged it out of me. The point is, no, I'm not feeling particularly inclined to help you at all. And also, I would, ask someone to be along with me. And Henrick says, oh, no, that's a deal breaker. Yeah, I thought so. So maybe I'm curious, but I'm not curious enough for that. I spent a long time trying to figure out where you'd gone, if maybe you were taken, or figure out why were you suddenly gone? Why was I suddenly... I had never left that place. If things hadn't changed, would it have just been just us two forever in the woods and me never seeing another person, never seeing another town? Is that that was the original plan A? Well, I thought that was clear, yes. I wasted a lot of time missing you, thinking that you were testing me, then being mad at you. I've wasted a lot of time thinking and feeling things about you, and now that you're here, I don't want to care anymore. So I don't care what it is you want or would need from me. I just want you to go. Thanks for some closure, I guess. But I don't need you. So I think we're done here. And Henrick is silent for a long moment and then stands up. Just goes, all right. You've made your opinions on the matter clear. I can see myself out. And one last perception for Henrick. Oh, hell yes. As Henrick stands up and leans on the cane, this is again a small space, and Craigory does not quite get out of the doorway. He's going to make Henrick and the clone have to shuffle past to get through, just to be as, petty and inconvenient a bitch as possible. Which means Henrick notices something right shuffling through the door and stops. And looks at Craigory and goes, when did you get tall? And they look down at Craigory's feet to see if perhaps he's wearing heels, and then looks back up, but they're not quite eye to eye. Craigory is in fact taller by exactly 2 inches. Oh, what, you didn't notice before? I don't always stand straight with my knee. How in the blazes? Craigory just folds his arms. Growth spurt. If anything, this is the one thing that Henrick... Yeah, I won't roll reception for this. This is too funny. This is the most off-kilter Henrick's been. This is a flabbergasted wizard. Just can see on their face, how the fuck is my literal clone, which is me, myself, whatever, how did it end up 2 inches taller? Should not be possible. But, alright, that's going to be a mystery for another day, they guess. And they're gesturing for, fabric run Henrick to move after, follow them. And Craigory's just, you know, following them closely, making sure they're, you know, actually leaving and going out the door. But also, hammer space. Give me a hammer space. Fucking phenomenal. All right, so Henrick fumble, everybody. I'm just gonna get out this fumble chart because they're interchangeable, right? Same person. All right, let's roll that d20. That's an 11. That's an 11. Righty-ho. Henrick reaches up their sleeve into hammer space for something and pulls out a jar of blank inert ink, just plain black. And they go, hold on. All right, succeeds this time, which is good because if, you know, the longer this would go on, the more Craigory's tapping his boot. But this time pulls out a doll. It's a doll that looks like Craigory, and even as Henrick's taking it and putting it, you know, back on the shelf they took it from, beside the Pip and Boomer dolls, Craigory says, "What were you doing with that?" "Just looking. It's good craftsmanship." "Well, it's not yours. Get out." And indeed, you know, Fabric Run has been also wearing like a cloak this whole time and just flips the hood up so that face is hidden. You know, the perfect Toon disguise. And Henrick is putting a hand on the door, and, you know, Craigory's kicking them out, but also, you know, just one final burning question he apparently can't resist. He just goes, "Do you even regret at all, like, what you've put me through?" "And what did I put you through?" "Oh, I introduced you to the wide world. I left you with a, I'm sure she's been a loving aunt. Oh, boo-hoo. What I have done and what I do, I hurt no one but myself. So, just know this. You, Craigory Henrick Danthew, are my greatest accomplishment. Your value is immense." And I think for the final roll of the game, it's going to have to be one more insight from Craigory. 2. Fantastic. Because, you know, what a sentence. Am I right, guys? And Craigory's just studying this wizard, and there's a smile as they say that, but he can't read what's in there. There might be regret. He thinks he might read guilt, pride. There's kind of pride in there. Rue, anticipation. Craigory can't read what's going on in there. But that's the final thing Henrick says, as they do indeed. Tab back to roll. So Morsky. Can Morsky give me advantage with DM powers? You know what? Because that made me laugh, let's do it. By the power of Morsky. In this Kraken only FPS. God, I was half waiting for that to be a nat 1. That would have been excellent. A 12 isn't great, but that I think Henrick's already closed the door and is on the way, and Craigory's watching at the window to watch these two fuckers and make sure they actually go, leave, turn around the corner. They don't come back. He's keeping watch. But he's continuing to think on that as he watches. And Henrick denied regret and guilt, but it was still present in that statement, in that smile, which is probably going to be as close to an apology as this guy ever gets, so guess that's that, am I right? Yeah. Craigory just keeps an eye for a long time before going to clean up his lab and make sure nothing is missing. Nothing is, but if anything were, well, actually, in hindsight, he's even a little surprised nothing was missing. That'd be like the, oh, well, now you have to come talk to me. Oh, some stuff is missing, I have it. But luckily for him, that doesn't seem to be the case. So, that's fine. This is great. No one needs to know. And that has been me talking to myself for 50 minutes, I think. I think that has been me, myself, and I. I'm taking a bow. Thank you, everyone, for listening.